Graham Mertz looks like a 6-year quarterback. And that's always a good sign out of fall camp to have your guy that's a little bit longer in the tooth, seen a little bit more football, looking the part. And this time last year, he was still getting up to speed. He had spring practice, but the report is that last year he knew what to do and was learning what to do. Now it's going from learning what to do to learning why it all works. The next step for him is elevating his teammates. And one of his teammates that's extremely high profile is his backup quarterback in DJ Lagway. And DJ Lagway, 5-star cat, came into Florida with a ton of accolades, got spring football, tried to figure it out a little bit during spring, had a good spring game from what I saw. He is reportedly leaps and bounds better during fall camp than he was in the spring. So that's extremely encouraging. The thing with him is he's a big dude now. He's a physical specimen back there playing quarterback. He's also got the ability to make you miss. And that's not just something we saw in high school that we did see that. The thing with him is you're hearing teammates talk about his ability running the football. And if he can make you miss in a non-contact jersey when all you got to do is tag off on number 2, that excites me for the future with him. The main thing I want us to talk about with DJ Lagway, he is not going to be your starting quarterback if Florida is playing meaningful football games. Graham Mertz will be your guy for all 12 games unless something wildly unforeseen happens. However, the expectation is DJ Lagway will have a role in 2024. I do not see him redshirting. Also, if he is who you think he is, and Nick De La Torre and I talked about this a fair amount, if he is who you think he is, he's 3 years and gone to the league anyway. Right? Why would you redshirt him if he's only going to be there for 3 years to begin with? So he will have a role. What is that going to be? Remains to be seen. And some of that also is on DJ Lagway with how he progresses and what he looks like throughout fall camp and into the season and what he can handle during a game. I will say this, that game against Samford, you would hope to see a lot of number 2. All right, we'll leave it at that. Florida Gator fans, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. We have had a lot of y'all join the party over the course of the last few weeks. If you have not yet subscribed, massive game for week 1 now. Miami coming to town. Going to predict it live on the air. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a minute of the coverage we have for you. Elsewhere on the offense, Trey Wilson, Eugene Wilson, whatever you want to call him. He's the best player on Florida's offense. I've been told he is, quote, unguardable. That's a nice thing to hear about your sophomore wide receiver who you're going to feed the football to. I mean, he is going to get a ton of touches. If you had a college football fantasy draft, I'd have a hard time not picking Eugene, Trey Wilson very early in that thing. I've heard that Billy Napier has said at different speaking engagements they are going to try and wear Trey Wilson out. Probably a good move with how effective he is when he touches the football. The comps that he keeps getting, the way they talk about him is very similar to how they talked about Ricky Pearsall out there in Gainesville. That's always a good sign, seeing as that was a first-round draft pick this past year. And it's not just Trey Wilson that gets you excited. Shamir Dike is a guy we've talked about on this show a lot, transfer wide receiver from Wisconsin, great chemistry with Graham Mertz. He just keeps PRing when it comes to the speed he's putting down in practice. Was clocked at 22 miles per hour during practice. Y'all, that's really fast. He's not just going to be a guy for you where it's maybe he should see the football now and then. I think he's going to be a very real option for you in this Florida offense. The encouraging thing if you're a Florida fan is, okay, you got Eugene Wilson, Shamir Dike obviously really coming on, but it's not just those two names. There's a lot of dudes that need to probably see the football, need to see the field at the wide receiver position. Aiden Mizell, real deal speed. Andy Jean, a lot of promise. Khalil Jackson, Elijah Badger, a guy who transferred in from Arizona State. There's a lot of dudes now where it's hey, they probably have to be involved some way, somehow. So to have the depth with the playmakers offensively, to go with your experienced 6-year starting quarterback, I think that's going to pay massive dividends for them, especially early on in the year. Offensive line, verdict still out. The reason why I mentioned that is I just mentioned your 6-year quarterback. I mentioned all your weapons. Expect a lot of quick game here for Florida. Expect a lot of catch, 3-step balls out on time. The luxury you have in calling quick game is you have a quarterback, again, in his 6th season, who can process the defense and know where it needs to go. That's massive. Graham Mertz, man. Very, very cool cucumber. Defensively, a couple of notes here. They feel real good about their defensive line depth, even with some injuries. I think they're a lot better than they have been in the past. That's price of admission in the SEC. To go with that, they feel like they're going to be a lot better of a team when it comes to tackling this season. That was something that kind of bit Florida in a few different spots a season ago. And the way that I'm processing that information, saying, okay, Florida's going to be better up front. They're going to be better when it comes to getting guys on the ground defensively. Like, how many times last year did we see Florida come a few plays away from winning a football game? Right? I mean, Missouri. Heck, 4th and 17. Folks in Gainesville are still having nightmares about that. The game against Arkansas. I know it didn't come down to a defensive play, but even so, you make a couple more plays on defense, maybe you don't even get to that situation. And so the point I'm trying to make here is I think those little things like defensive line depth, being better at tackling, that's going to add up to, I think, big things, and it's a big reason why I'm so high on Florida relative to the national narrative around the Gators. So far, so good. It's fall camp. Everyone's undefeated, but that's the latest out of Gainesville. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.